I was first introduced to Mariah Carey's voice with the emancipation of Mimi. The power of We Belong Together's final chorus was explosive, and the fact that she was able to come back to that E5 over and over was both memorable and mind-blowing. But what I didn't know at the time was that this was a more mature version of her debut sound, which was even more risk-taking. Her voice had changed so much, and when you point forward into her post-pregnancy studio work, Mariah still had this inexplicable access to her high belts. Mariah Carey's voice is changing, and it's changing her music. Mariah Carey has always been in a unique position. She built a standard of excellence early on that singers to this day use as their benchmark for their performance. She pushed her voice to the limit, writing timeless music that had a vocal demand only she could answer. As she achieved more and more freedom in her career, her vocal performance changed, having become more of a reflection of her true style and changing capability. For example, the trademark airy tone that dominated Butterfly, the bold belts of her debut, or the layered octave aesthetic from her later career. Now, I believe the same catalog reveals little clues about how her voice was maturing and responding to her life's circumstances. As Mariah became more solidified in her career, her challenge became balancing that high vocal standard she was known for with both aesthetic innovation and strategic adaptation. Now, when a singer creates music that matches their new abilities, we often embrace the new sound and let the old one fade a little. But with a talent as rare and a career as long as Mariah's, letting go isn't always easy. Her vocal prime captured lightning in a bottle. The range and power made this period unforgettable. Now, when was this prime? Some people could say it was between Charm Bracelet and the Emancipation of Mimi, when she was set free from the shackles of her previous label relationships. Her voice had a level of maturity that brought extra weight to her upper register. That's what makes the We Belong Together final chorus slap. But most lambs, like Tristan Kenneth, the singer and songwriter who I spoke to earlier this year, said otherwise.
From the Music Box era and the Christmas era, her voice opened up a little bit more and she was fuller and she had more agility.
Music Box, home of Dream Lover and Hero, was when her voice was probably at its freest. When I heard a lot of her runs from this era, it was very clear that she had an autonomy over her voice like no other. Her runs were longer. They basically told a story, like on Dream Lover or on Music Box. She was lighter in the use of her upper register, which allowed for more connection in the lines, like in the beginning of the bridge of Hero. Now, all of this is a maturation in her approach to singing, which in her debut was a little bit more instinctive and spontaneous. If she could grab it, she would go for it, like the guttural F5 on Make It Happen, or the weight of the D5 on There's Got to Be a Way, and of course the G5 in its key change. And these two sides, agility and instinctive power, saw their mastery heading through to Merry Christmas and Daydream, like the joy on the final key change of Joy to the World, or the infamous second verse of Fantasy. Now, what's interesting about this freedom in her chest range and modal register is that it's behaved inversely to her whistle register, which is probably the most unpredictable part of her voice, even though it's the most characteristic. Her whistle started out with a bright ping, whereas when her voice was in its best coordination modally, her whistles, though still accessible, had slightly less ring. Also worth noting is that the albums from these eras also have the least amount of use of the whistle register from her entire career. Shout out to the Fly Like a Lamb YouTube channel that did the work for me on that. Now, this inverse relationship of her modal voice and whistle register probably has a lot to do with the vocal nodules she's dealt with since before her career started.
I actually have nodules, and I've never had them removed because I was just told not to.
Essentially, vocal nodules prevent full closure of her folds depending on their size. Weirdly, this would make an optimal situation for her whistle register since they use incomplete closure.
You're sort of squeezing a specific part of your cord. When they're bigger, sometimes that part of my voice is stronger. It's weird. I don't know.
So in times when she was more coordinated in her modal voice, she may have had less access to the whistle register. It would also explain why, as we head into Mariah's later career, she's retained the use of her whistle register, and we also see more of a frequency in her using it, all while shifting her approach to her modal voice. Essentially, these two types of coordination of the vocal folds are at war with one another, leaving Mariah throughout her career to have to choose either one or the other, even though both sides are integral to the Mariah Carey sound. Now, what sucks about this is that any life stressors that affect her body would exacerbate the distance between these two sides of Mariah Carey's voice. And when you are one of the biggest acts known to pop music, best believe that those stressors come. Now, let's highlight two of them that Mariah details in her book. Her 8-year relationship with Tommy Mottola, who had a hand in the start of her career, and the aftermath of said relationship. In the side effects chapter of her book, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, Mariah details physical symptoms that show up as a result of the tumult that she was experiencing in her micromanaged marriage.
I had started to develop hives like breakouts. I went to see the dermatologist, who assured me that my otherwise unblemished skin was having a reaction to severe stress.
Now, although we need more medical proof for a claim like this, I have no doubt that if Mariah was experiencing hives that were related to her stress, her voice was also feeling the effects, which may be a clue to the major shift from Daydream to Butterfly, the album titled after the symbol of her freedom from her then mentally abusive marriage. It was there that we see Mariah shift into a much more airy vocal that has been present the entire time, but now was in dominance. Either due to the physical state of her body that may have affected her voice at the time of recording, or a simple stylistic decision she now had the freedom to make, or both. Either way, from Butterfly to Rainbow, and definitely from then onward, we heard a distinct shift in the use of her voice in the midst of the changes of the build of her voice. Now, as Mariah broke free from her marriage, she also broke free from her label and ended up signing an $80 million record deal with Virgin Records. She mentions that during this time, she experienced very little sleep. See the ad-libs of Crybaby.
During those late 90s, early 2000 years when she was splitting with Sony and divorcing, Tommy Mottola, she, would sleep like 3 hours a night.
Now, lack of sleep is one of the top ways a singer can be held back in their performance. So it would make sense why we heard even more of a distance between her chest voice and airy head voice on Glitter.
Take me for a ride, in you I'd find the place.
Now, to continue to create in the midst of such a unique vocal situation is something that can only be done within the context of a personal knowledge that Mariah had of her voice, along with the bravery to face its frailties. She needed to know what her voice could and could not offer at any given time, and that type of personal awareness is something every singer needs to have. And if that's something you've wanted to discover for yourself, I would love to help you to do that. So what I've done is I've compiled 5 different ways that I've helped singers break their bad singing habits, find their unique sound, and discover their voice's full potential in my free masterclass. All you need to do to get it is go to reclaimyourvoice.ca/masterclass. Now, back to Mariah Carey. So let's hear the evolution of her voice in real time. What we'll do is we'll take a section of the keyboard and a specific tone that Mariah Carey has used often. For now, we're going to use her lower modal voice. Let's take the lower descent on There's Got to Be a Way, where she's using a lower part of her range in a more present way.
Desperate and so alone.
From there, we'll head to a lighter registration on The Wind from Emotions. The first verse of Without You. Oh Holy Night from Merry Christmas. One of the opening runs on Always Be My Baby. The first verse of My All. Heading to a Lamb favorite, Ex-Girlfriend. Twister from Glitter. Mariah's tribute to her father on Charm Bracelet, Sunflowers for Alfred Roy. Now Emancipation of Mimi is when we started to hear far more use of her lower modal range, like on Shake It Off. We're starting to hear more of the body. Now I Stay in Love off of E = MC squared. One of my favorites, About My Face. The lower octave on Here Comes Santa Claus. And after pregnancy, we hear even more weight in this part of her range. First with Thirsty, and with Justice for Caution, One More Again. As you can hear, Mariah's voice gained more body and warmth in this part of her range as her career went on. Now, a singer that had no capability of weaving the knowledge of their own voice into the creative process would have been devastated and stagnated by the challenges that come with having a voice that needed to be held in such a delicate balance. But the triumphant thing about this is that Mariah Carey is a songwriter. A songwriter's songwriter. She has 19 number ones, for crying out loud. Mariah had not only the voice, but the skill to create a new path for herself through the ups and downs of her voice. But what was interesting to see was what happened with Mariah Carey's voice as she entered a new relationship with the record label on Charm Bracelet. Her voice experienced some extreme highs. Some of her highest recorded belts are off of Charm Bracelet. They had this limitless feel, as if she could keep extending in her belting range. And this was the perfect foreground to set the scene for the comeback that was the Emancipation of Mimi. Her modal voice was much more back in the mix, and we were hearing the most variety and dynamic in her voice since Daydream, in my opinion.
Maybe you could be more silly of me, sitting next to me. I bet you want to be.
The songs were timeless, and she was finally getting the rest she needed, like she mentioned in her book.
For the first time in a long time, I had real vocal rest, something of which Luther Vandross had taught me the critical importance. I had to make sure I was in top condition. My voice was rested so I could do my best for my fans first, of course.
Now, if we do a quick check-in with where Mariah's whistle register is at this point, you'll notice something cool. The ring is back. Check out Bringing on the Heartbreak. And I Wish You Knew off Emancipation. Now, going again with this inverse relationship between her chest range and her whistle register, it seems at this point Mariah's voice has adapted more to her whistle register. So in a more rested version of Mariah's voice, we're getting a little bit of trade-off here. Mariah has agility, but not necessarily as much as around Music Box, but her whistles have now gained a ping and a ring. So cool. Now with E = MC squared, we are starting to hear Mariah's songwriting change again. She's using her modal voice more and creating some lower melodies that provide space for her to belt the higher octave. She was already doing that on We Belong Together, but now she's doing it even more, like on I Stay in Love, Side Effects, and About My Face.
If we were tall Lego blocks, even the Harvard University graduating class of 2010 couldn't put us back together again.
Now checking in with her whistles at this point, they've taken on a warmer tone that makes them feel a lot more like traditional head voice notes. They also have a slightly lighter quality, like the opening of Migrate or the final chorus of Hate You. Now Now, after pregnancy, Mariah's voice again really did the unexpected on her studio recordings. Mariah describes Rodney Jerkins, aka Darkchild, saying that her voice was stronger during pregnancy.
And he was like, you know what, I heard you on your Christmas special, because I did a Christmas special last year. And he was like, I could tell your voice was stronger because you were pregnant. Sometimes it does that for you.
The fact that this was said about her helps me make Me I Am Mariah, the elusive chanteuse, make a little more sense, as it behaves a lot like a charm bracelet in Mariah's catalog to me. The belting was bright but also broad, like the G5 on Make It Look Good or the F#5 on Meteorite. But differently from charm bracelets, these belts felt a lot thicker, definitely a change in vocal build. It makes me wonder what it is about the studio experience that allows Mariah to simply let go. And also, how much voice does Mariah truly have? Now, this youthful tone carried into caution on the higher octave of With You and The Distance. Although her comfortable range is a little lower, this bright youthful tone still carries on, and her airy tone is also lighter. Now, again speculating, I do think that Mariah's natural talent has given her a large advantage in her later recordings. For whatever reason, Mariah has this extremely wide reach with her belt, and we heard that on singles like Infinity and I Don't. Now, when you're blazing a trail for other singers to follow, it's very easy to become the focal point of scrutiny for every note you sing. So much so that people minimize your contribution to the art of singing and equate your voice to a passing trend. For Mariah Carey, singing was an escape from the abusive turmoil of her life and a way to share the hope she'd found with her listeners. But we're so stuck at the gate of notes, range, and power that we never get to cross into the freedom of self-expression. It's like the only people that are allowed to feel free and express themselves are the ones that are perfect. It's like we are so fixated on how Mariah sounds that we fail to see the connection to the turmoil of her life. And we're not even the ones doing the singing. It's not wrong to see the notes, but if notes are all we see, we've missed the point of her artistry. The way we see Mariah Carey's voice is actually a mirror for how we tolerate ourselves in the midst of being less than perfect, whether we accept ourselves or not. It also tells us what we think singing is, an art in which the artist is vilified if they fall short of the standard, or a gift that can be used by anyone to express their innermost thoughts and feelings. Mariah's voice is the triumph of a caged bird that finally got to fly free. And if you want to stay in her world a little bit longer with me, check out when we talked about her performance of If It's Over at the Grammys. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, because this is the place where we help you to reclaim your voice. Reclaiming my voice. I'm O'Neil Gerald, and I'll see you all in another video. Bye for now.